You
Yeah.
know, they are much more concerned about who funded them during elections and got them to
Yeah.
be in power, and
Mm-hmm.
them paying such people back.
Mm-hmm.
So what the onus is on us, like what can we do to help the younger ones and we ourselves? Basically, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that like you're onto something and it's good. In order to address any issue, first you must know the root cause, right?
Right.
And I think in analyzing this, if you were to broaden the scope and look at it, I think that it'll even be warranted for me to suggest that this is not an issue synonymous to just Ghana or Ghanaian artists. But if you take a look at Black countries who have been touched by the notion of colonialism, these mindsets also present itself. It may not be the same presentation, but it definitely presents itself to some degree in the sense of the entering into industries ad hoc, and then also not understanding or not acknowledging or recognizing the motivations behind entering an industry. I think for the music industry is what I'll speak on. It's a form of um, so it's a creative arts, right?
Right.
And that creativity will manifest differently to people. And I think that what a lot of people don't understand about that creative art space is that a lot of the time as it manifests, you're actually telling the story about your mental health,
That's true.
right?
I
That's
agree.
yeah.
Most
I
people
agree.
don't know that. So if you're coming like you
That's
could take an
a
artist
great point.
and then yeah, you could literally not like you could do a an imaginative predictor by taking a look at their entire how they broke out into the
Right.
scene and
Mm-hmm.
Right.
looking at their product, right? You could
Right.
analyze
That's
their
interesting.
product and have a general basis of maybe this is where this ship is sailing.
Right.
And for me, that tells me like
This is
it
the
begs
end.
questioning your mental health, right?
Right.
So if you don't have that that mentor, or if you don't have that formula to follow, and what it
Right.
sounds like is that there is no set formula because people are solely relying on their creativity,
Mm-hmm.
which is good, but it's not just creativity, it's
Exactly.
creativity coupled with formula. And whatever the formula
Right.
may be, whether it is you having an arts degree specializing in music or the creative space, you having a mentor that has been there to advise you that no, this is not good, it's beneficial. Now where it becomes tricky is that this mental health conversation, as Ghanaians, we don't have them because of whatever the case. A lot of people say stigma. I don't think it's stigma. It's an actual, for me, it's the fact that we are not well versed in this. And it's not just Ghana, but you will, again, back to Black populations. And this is a result of colonialism where you cannot break in front of your master. You cannot cry in front of your master. It's a sign of weakness, right?
Mm.
So this whole like vulnerability question, I think everybody has to do a deep introspective search and ask, how willing am I to be vulnerable? Like, look, it's such a big issue that even in relationships, how many, and I'm going to challenge and push back and say, how many of you guys here put yourself in a place of vulnerability even in front of your spouses? It's an innate thing that we have been taught that as Black people we always
Yeah.
have to be strong,
Right.
right? And this is such a big conversation because these are the basics, foundational theories, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
cuts across in all the industries. As a
Right.
Black woman, you cannot cry, you have to be strong. Black women don't crack, right?
Black don't
These are all
crack.
societal, yeah, these are all societal pressures. So in the music industry, if one person does something to you or you are reactive, it's a sign of weakness. You are not given that space,
Right.
and a lot of people don't give themselves that room to be vulnerable, right? And vulnerability is good. And what we don't understand is that when it comes to the mental health aspect, it rides a lot on emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But do we know what emotions are?
Right.
Emotions, essentially, loosely and for layman's
Mm-hmm.
purposes, are emotion, like motions in action. It has to move. So let's say if you're feeling angry and you suppress it, it will manifest in a different way. It may
Exactly.
not come out as
Right.
anger. It'll
Right.
hence why you're seeing the drugs and so on and so
Right.
forth. It's because the emotions are not being put into like movement.
Right.
It
Right.
manifests in different ways. If you're scared and you can't express the feelings of being scared, it'll manifest in different ways. And fortunately or unfortunately, people like to pacify their emotions through other means.
Right.
I always say that it's either you put it into religion or you put it into the bottle.
Right.
So it's a matter of really understanding what the deep rooted causes are, the underlying causes, and giving ourselves the permission to even teeter or flirt with those ideas. And then after that, right, you acknowledge it's a process. You must acknowledge. And then we have to also come to the fact and understanding that the way one manifests is different from the way the other manifests.
Uh-huh.
And we really have to get past this whole like obonsam na yeah, me fearful na yeah, and understand the underlying causes. Because yeah, you know what I have come to understand and realize? A lot of times we point the fingers at these poor old people who cannot advocate for themselves, who themselves have an underlying issue like Parkinson's, dementia. And
Yeah.
as you get older, these are things that you have,
Right.
right? So even if somebody self-confesses to being a witch, it's an underlying issue,
Right.
right? From the mental health aspect of it. And with our yeah, with our young people in the industry, as I was talking about emotions, you have to be careful, because if you put your trust in the bottle or in drugs, there is a thing called drug-induced schizophrenia, drug-induced bipolar, which is a lot of the times what you end up seeing. But just because you're seeing it does not mean it is the root cause.
Oh. Wow.
I want to ask a question here on the drug side. When you get to a stage where uh, you are a star, like everybody is coming to you, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, I'm speaking from a producer perspective.
All
I
right.
mean, being a producer or sound engineer. In Ghana, producers or sound engineers do not go on stage, right? Which somehow is wrong, because a producer or sound engineer, let's say Naughty by Nature, if they go on stage to perform, KG is there, and there's a sound engineer who does the dirty work. Is also there on stage to make sure that the sound, everything is okay, their performance, everything is on point. It's like everything is calculated.
Mm-hmm.
It all boils down to that education. Me and my brother were talking about the producers. Now, the producers are more like indoors. They just stay in an indoor. They don't really travel a lot, to refresh their mind and all those kind of stuff. Now, if they become, let's say one becomes a star, and all of a sudden nobody's coming to him anymore, he gets introduced to maybe one or two drugs like weed or whatever, and he gets addicted to it. He smokes it to release the stress and all that. I mean, if it gets worse, I mean, how can that person get out from it, mentally? Like, how can the person make their mind up that, listen, I mean, I'm sick and tired of it. I mean, I'm thinking about my health now. I don't want to, die miserably. I want to get out from it. Like, how do you get out from such a thing as, a creative person? Because it starts with the
Well,
mind. They always
so
say that.
let me chime in before
Mm-hmm,
sis comes in.
mm-hmm,
I think that comes with a split sheets. The issue of split sheets in a studio would also help, right? And then because when the producer knows they are getting a split, and they have their IPI numbers and all that, that's fine. They are going to get their royalties. But then
mm-hmm.
also, I feel the would also have to make themselves um, more they have to be more prolific in terms of expanding their expertise, not only being a producer but being able to DJ too. You get what I'm saying? Or
Mm-hmm.
stepping ahead to learn a little bit of sound engineering, which is
Even,
quite different.
even we have sound engineers that they are guitarists and all that. They could
Right,
go out there,
right.
perform with the artists, but
Because what
some
I
of them
see,
didn't.
look, take DJ Premier. Even though he's a DJ, he's a producer. Produced
Mm-hmm.
like Nas's.
Oh, P Rock, all of
Exactly.
them, they perform on
But we
stage
don't have that
with a
here.
lot.
The producer
No, no, no.
doesn't know how to mix and master. So Killbeat will go to Kwa to mix and master,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it means that if you don't have hit songs back to back, like Killbeat doesn't have hit songs back to back, it means he will never be seen,
Mm-hmm.
right? But somebody who can mix, like engineer the song and
Mm-hmm.
move to that other level is going to be seen and things like that. That's how I feel. It goes
Mm-hmm.
back to royalties and then the artist or the producer himself pushing himself to learn more, to be more usable. Let me say that
Mm-hmm.
on stage,
Mm-hmm.
and even like Hit Boy raps, even though he produces,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I think that's I mean in the studio, right? But let's listen to experts' advice from Sis.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
like I was asking, how do we get out from that? That the trap that we fall in, on the drug side and all those. How do personally? Let's say if I'm into that situation. So how do I get myself out from it?
okay. So it's a definitely interesting question. I think that it has been answered in part where it sounds like you actually when you were speaking you said how do I get, and if I'm stressed, how do I get out of that
Mm-hmm.
stress, right? Resort to drugs.
Right,
Well,
Mm-hmm.
first we have to know what that stress is and what the cause of the stress is, right? And it
definitely.
sounds to me as you're talking about a lack of diversification of portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly,
And one of the things that I've
Oh,
found
exactly.
is that
oh, yep.
one of the things that I've found is that, and again, this is on the surface, right? It touches
Mm-hmm.
into most industries. It's an identity
Mm,
problem because a lot, and this has happened, like something similar to this has happened to me, where I was really, really good at one thing. I put all my faith and trust in it, all my eggs into that basket, right? And for the longest time, everybody knew me as that. They didn't know me, right? So I became unidimensional to everybody.
mm.
And it made it seem like I'm not good at, okay, so I used to do boxing. So it made
Wow.
it seem to the community that boxing is it for me. I don't know anything, to the point where I even lost my last name and people refer to me as my first name, the boxer. So the boxer became my last name. So you know what happens when you decide that you no one longer want to exist in that current space and you want to move into a different space, you are limited. There's boundaries placed on you because
Right.
the assumption is that you can't be good at anything else. And especially if you haven't gained any new skills to prepare you to move out of that space, you're limited to either producer, to boxer, to sound engineer, right? Because that's all you're known for. You put your identity and trust in it. So what I did was I left that scene and I went to school, and I had to do, and it was an identity crisis because you know what? All the red doors and all the red carpets that are being rolled out were being rolled out not because of me, the human being. It's being rolled out because of the art I was in and the fact that it
Exactly.
was a hierarchy and I was sitting at the top of that
Right.
hierarchy.
Right.
But now that I'm not at the top of that hierarchy, I am indisposable. Nobody cares about me. I'm an empty shell now,
Right.
right? Somebody else could occupy that space, and somebody else is occupying that space. All that attention gets moved there. So what it was for me was I had to really work on my identity and rebuild my identity and my personal brand. And I think one of the things in the music industry that I wish a lot of artists will not feel bad about and adopt is the personal motto of not everybody deserves access to me.
That's right.
And that preserves your mental health.
Yeah, it's true.
Just
You know
because
what?
I say I don't like what you're doing, it doesn't warrant a response. Not everybody deserves access to you, right?
It's
Be
true. It's
selective.
I'm not gonna cut
No,
you
go ahead.
off at the moment. I was speaking with my brother yesterday. That the start we cannot control and put stop into certain things, because it's like, okay, if I say this, oh, Ghanaians are going to tell me that, oh, I am this, I am that. But these are the same people that they are telling you what to do. They are living the life for you to do. It's like you need to create a certain standard.
Mm-hmm.
You need to create a, it's like, it's crazy. You cannot even manage the start. And like I said, if we are able to manage the start, I mean, that's cool. I mean, I would take my wife as a typical example. My wife is one of the renowned vocalists in the country, right? And I was able to sack before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Years before. She can sit in a taxi, car, walk around. They can play her hits. If she's listening, she just doesn't care at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, she has done a job and all that. She's
Mm-hmm.
working freely. Now, the moment that I projected her, the image and everything for everybody to get to know her, everybody wants to take picture with her in the
Mm-hmm.
market, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's cool. But she doesn't put it in her mind that, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a star, so I can't go in the queue
Mm-hmm.
and buy what. Me, she just work freely,
Mm-hmm.
buy what she needs to buy. If there's a problem going on around within her community, she just go do what she's supposed to do. But there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing. But I think, like you said, we should be able to manage, the starter. Because even JJ Rollins cry doesn't even, like, when he was alive, was not even thinking about stardom. He can join even thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
Who, it's not like he's going to sit in his car and be like, oh, I am president, so
Mm-hmm.
like everybody should serve me first.
Mm-hmm.
He will join the people, the queue, until it's his turn, and he buys watches from antimony and he goes
Mm-hmm.
home.
Yeah. So you're
So,
right. It's the
you know,
identity issue. And just to
yeah.
quickly sum it up, in order for you not to touch the drugs, it's a matter of diversification. But then we also have to realize that um, when it comes to addictions, right,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it is innate, and sometimes you could see that it runs through family, and it is a actual, like, it's a, if you were to classify it and go and research, you'll find that there's also the physiological part of the brain where some people are more susceptible to addictive behaviors than
Right.
others. So it's a matter of you knowing yourself.
I was
Mm-hmm.
I was mentioning hereditary factors and epigenetics at a point in time when we started the conversation that,
Yes, I
you
remember.
remember that, right?
Yes, I
That
remember.
those
Yeah.
could be factors too. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this affirms what you're saying in terms of hereditary factors.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, I'll leave it at that. There's a lot more to
Right,
these
right,
types of
right.
conversations, but I'll pass it back through to Peter. Thanks for engaging.
We
Yeah,
appreciate the time.